Hey everyone, Alon Mizrahi here. This is the Mizrahi Perspective, and welcome to your weekly dose of Judeo-Arab anarchism. And the story that we have now is interesting. I'm going to talk about the story that's emerging now, because remember, there's always a story. There's always a story power is trying to tell. And the story power is trying to tell tells us a lot about the psychology of power and where power is and what they are trying to achieve. This is what I'm looking at. This is what concerns me most. We have the story that power tries to tell and the story people are believing, and they are not the same. When there's too much of a gap between the story power tries to tell and the story people believe, you have a recipe for unrest. And maybe more, maybe more. So what is the story power is trying to tell us now? I'm talking about Gaza specifically. This is the first subject today. I'm going to talk about the US, and I'm going to talk about Bernie Sanders and why he is such a dangerous Zionist, which I really have a lot to say about him. I'll just put it at that. But this is going to be the last part of this video. I'm going to talk about what's happening with Gaza, and particularly because we are getting less and less reports from Gaza. Israel has assassinated so many journalists and created such unlivable conditions that we are barely getting any real footage, any real raw materials from the Gaza Strip. Remember how it was a year ago? We would be getting a lot more video content, a lot more reporting. Now there's almost no one left to tell the story, and this was Israel's intention all along, of course. So we are getting very little story, narrative, footage, reporting from Gaza. But what's happening now in terms of the big political story that the West is trying to tell, power in the West is trying to tell, it is getting clearer and clearer every day that Israel has screwed up in a big, major way. This is getting more and more undeniable. You can see every day more and more people, more and more countries, more and more organizations, even in Israel, in Europe, in the US, the realization of what Israel has done in the Gaza Strip, which is a Holocaust, a planned and a carefully planned and meticulously carried out Holocaust using the IDF, carried out by the IDF. The realization of what Israel has done is taking over. The ability to deny it is getting almost impossible. They have nothing and nowhere to stand on. So people are starting to get it. I think that in terms of this aspect, the gap between what power believes is happening and what the people believe is happening, this gap is narrowing. Now power is coming to realize, and they have no alternative but to admit that what Israel has done is basically a Holocaust. Basically a Holocaust. It is not even a normal quote-unquote genocide. This is an attempt to destroy the Palestinian people completely, at least the Gaza branch of the Palestinian people, and the West Bank is next. According to Israeli plans, no Palestinian is going to stay alive in Palestine, except a few specimens that Israel needs for its PR. Okay, some Palestinian Zionists that Israel can show off. This is the plan. And the reality of what happened is getting more and more widely accepted. And what they're trying to say now, we can see the lines of defense, okay, how the West is trying to defend Israel. We can see the lines of this defense emerging. And what are they trying to do? And these different tasks are assigned to different people, okay, to different bodies. The first thing they are trying to do is to claim that there is no hunger in Gaza. This is the stupidest task, hasbara text that they have, which no one believes it. This is laughable. This is ridiculous, preposterous. No one believes it. No one believes it. That's it. Humanity has accepted this fact, the fact that there is terrible starvation in Gaza, and people are dying every day in unknown numbers in the Gaza Strip because of starvation. Everyone accepts this now. So this desperate attempt to claim that there is no starvation in Gaza is already failing. This is, maybe it already failed. But this was almost a makeshift line of defense. There is no starvation in Gaza. The second thing they are trying, the second line of defense is there is starvation in Gaza, but Hamas is responsible. Hamas did it. Which is really one of the dumbest things I ever heard in my life. Because what does this imply? They are saying that after 2 years of fighting in Gaza, losing hundreds, thousands of soldiers, if you count the disabled, the traumatized, the maimed, after 2 years of fighting with this trillion-dollar military, fighting in Gaza for 2 years, Hamas is still controlling the strip to the extent that it can take over the aid and control who gets aid and who doesn't. I mean, I don't know what even to say about this. This is something that no serious country would say. This is a I don't know, it's not a revelation. This is just a very strong display of how stupid Israel is and how much it is at a loss for any kind of coherent words to say. They can't say anything coherently. Saying Hamas is responsible for starvation in Gaza because they want to make Israel look bad. Bitch, and no one can make Israel look any worse than it already does. What are you talking about? This tells of such disconnect from reality. What are you talking about trying to make Israel look bad? What are you even talking about? Do you live in this universe? Do you live in this? Where are you? So the arguments that there is no starvation in Gaza and there is starvation, but Hamas is causing it, they are the people who are assigned to propagate this utter absurdity and stupidity are Jewish American, Jewish Western. I mean, I've seen they have like a band of blondes they use in British media, in American media. They are always blondes. They bring on the blonde Jewish Zionist bloggers to claim. Sometimes they are brunettes, but mostly they are blondes for some reason. And they're assigned with this task. Go on TV and claim there is no starvation, and if there is starvation, Hamas is causing it. So this is one category of defense that they are trying to have now, to spread, to put into existence. I'm laughing because it's still ridiculous. This is the other things they are trying to do is a little bit more sophisticated. a little bit more sophisticated and a little bit more dangerous. And the other thing is what the Europeans are doing, and Canada and maybe another country said it, they are going to recognize Palestine. This is the other defense of Israel. This is what they're doing. It is not about Palestine at all. It is not about the genocide. It is about the genocide, but in a different way. The Europeans and the Western bloc is realizing how deep the hole is Israel dug for itself and for them with this Holocaust in Gaza, that they refused to stop at any cost. They would not stop it. No stopping it. They are not stopping this now. This is what we have to get. Despite, and I'm going to say something about this in a minute, despite what every person alive basically reached the conclusions that Israel is carrying out a Holocaust in Gaza. And everyone is trying to make Israel understand that they know what Israel is doing, that we know what you're doing, you need to stop. But Israel is not stopping. This again is a testament to the level of derangement and disorientation that Israeli leadership is in. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. They have no idea. They fall back on the same instinct to bomb, to lie, to deny, to manipulate. They can't do anything else. And this, because we know it already, because we recognize this mechanism, because we see reality, this looks more and more insane. Okay, this looks more and more out of place, out of touch. It was always out of touch and always insane. But the more they do it, and the greater number of people have become awake to this, the more insane it looks. So, but Europe cannot admit now, we have aided and abetted a Holocaust. We have helped Israel carry out a Holocaust in Gaza. We armed it. We defended it. We financed it. We created a worldwide censorship mechanism to defend Israel's Holocaust. This is what they did. This is what they still do. They passed this, they criminalized Palestine action just a few weeks ago in Britain. They are still censoring dissent and criticism of Israel, even as they realize fully that Israel has committed a Holocaust. But they cannot admit it. On the one hand, they can't say it, because if they admit it, and if they admit they're sharing it, it is game over for them. You cannot claim to be worthy of public office if you have helped, aided, and abetted a Holocaust. You can't. And your campaigner can't, and your lawyer can't, and your donors can't. You are lost and fucked as a class of people. This is not about the prime minister. This is not about the foreign minister. This is the whole political class, the whole political system. And they assumed in their naivete and stupidity that Israel was going to stop eventually. But if you watch my videos and read my content over the past almost 2 years or a year and a half, I have repeatedly said Israel was not going to stop. Israel is not going to stop. Israel is not, it is going to escalate if you're watching me for a while, you've seen me say that over and over and over again. Israel is always going to escalate. It is not going to stop. It is incapable of rational thought. And they are still hoping Israel will come to. They are still hoping that something can be done to save Israel, to change Israel, to change the story. Remember the story. Because the story now that people have in their heads is Israel is an insane, rabid nation that has to be destroyed and dismantled. It cannot be allowed to come near humanity. Our leadership needs to protect us, defend us from Israel, from the kind of evil and lunacy that Israel represents. This is the kind of sentiment that it's more than building, it's already in place. Still, they are trying to save face and save their big investment and their lucrative asset of Israel. And this is why they are trying to recognize a Palestinian state now. They are doing this to try to turn this into a different story. They are trying to delude themselves and us. I'm gonna turn on a light here. Okay. Now it's a different video. They are trying to make this into a different story. When they recognize Palestine for Israel, they are trying to tell us and themselves and the Western public and all of humanity, this could be made into a story with a happy ending. There can be a happy ending. Israel can be made into a normal society. If we only push it a little, to live with Palestinians in peace, which is just comical. This is stand-up material. This has nothing to do with reality. This has nothing to do with Israel. They don't even get how insane Israel is, although all the evidence is in front of them. They have access to more intelligence and more information that we will ever have. We have just basic stuff that we see, social networks and some mainstream TV and one independent journalist or two, and that's it. But it's enough. We have seen one documentary or two about Israeli settlers and Daniela Weiss. We get it. Okay, well, now we know the picture. But they have a million times more extensive knowledge of what Israel is and what it's doing and the kind of evil that it is carrying out. And still they are trying to maintain this facade of normalcy. And this is why they're trying to recognize, this is why they are pushing this now. They are trying to sell us this fantasy that this big tragedy can be sweetened, okay, can be made less black, less bleak through a kind of a half-assed recognition of a Palestinian state. But there's never going to be a Palestinian state. This is a joke. Israel controls the entire West Bank and East Jerusalem. There's an Israeli military base every 2 kilometers in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, or a military base, or a secret police base, or a torture camp, or a settlement. Where is the Palestinian state going to live? Where? It has no roads it can control. They can't control movement. On the most basic level, they can control movement. And what Israeli settlers are doing, we are seeing now. There are pogroms every day, sometimes a couple of times a day, in the West Bank. Killing, burning, looting, stealing every single day. This is Israel. This is Israel that Western intelligence services know exists and operates. But still they are trying to market this fake, democratic, peaceful Israel at this late fucking stage. And this is why they're trying to recognize Palestine now. This is why they are talking about it. And this is a more sophisticated attempt to defend Israel. But it doesn't worry me one bit, because this is such a well-known in advance failure. Israel is not going to agree to any kind of fake, temporary, limited compromise. It is never going to happen. It is never going to happen. It is never going to. If the West proposes a Palestinian state that is comprised of one building in Ramallah, one building with a Palestinian flag, and which will be the whole territory of independent Palestine, and they will forgive Israel's Holocaust, and they will change the subject, and they will censor people, they will arrest people, they will persecute all of us. If Israel agrees to this one building being a Palestinian state, Israel will say no. No, no way. Not happening. So there is no danger, despite their greatest effort to bend this into a Israeli pleasing shape, this narrative, this story, the political reality, all of it, it is not going to work. It is not going to work because Israel is completely insane and deranged, and it cannot be saved. It cannot be saved. No matter how far the West will extend itself and try to create all kinds of fuckery. This is now the new word that you love, so I'm going to use it in every video. No matter what fuckery they are going to come up with, like I said, proposing a Palestinian state, not just in one building, in one floor of one building, in one room of one floor of one building, Israel is going to reject it totally, claiming this is anti-Semitic and rewarding terrorism. Israel will force, and this is my prediction, and this is my long-standing, may not be the right word because this has only been a year and a half, but this has been steady. I've been saying this constantly. Israel will only escalate. It cannot compromise, and it will not compromise. And this is what I understood basically on October 7th. This is why I realized I have to flee the country, because it is getting so insane, I can't be here. And this is beside the fact that this society has become an orgy of murder and child murder and stuff and insanity and torture and rape. A hell on earth. A hell on earth. So it has no possibility of like going back to normalcy now. I'm reading and I'm seeing the stories that I'm reading the tone Israeli analysts are writing in. Everyone is getting crazier. They are losing grip with reality. Every week it gets worse and worse and worse. They live inside the bubble. They're fighting with all their might to keep intact, to not allow humanity and life to penetrate this bubble and touch them. They won't have it. They want to remain in this bubble, and everything is about them. What is being done to them? What is being said about them? And how good and righteous they are, and how bad and vile everybody else is. And they hate Israel. They hate Jews. I'm telling you, it is a freaking asylum. This is not a normal society. So this attempt by the West to save Israel and save their own image by installing forcefully, artificially, a happy ending to this tragedy, it is going to fail like amazingly. It's going to explode and crumble and burn and shed tons of smoke. Israel is going to continue attacking Lebanon and attacking Syria and attacking the West Bank and attacking Iran, which I hope it will do. I hope it will attack Iran again. I really do. So this scramble to find any positive outlet to this is doomed. It's not going to work. It is not going to work. As I've said in my How Israel Ends duo of videos, there is no saving Israel. It is going to collapse, and it is close. It is imminent. The ability of Israel to function is getting limited and more difficult every day. Every day, another country recognizes Palestine. Again, out of naivete, out of false hope, or out of principle. It doesn't matter. The pressure it applies to Israel is equal. This is the other side of it. Western countries, European countries are trying to do this for Israel. But Israel is not going to take this very corrupt offer to save itself. On the contrary, it's going to bite their hand. They are going to react to this recognition of Palestine with more violence, with more derangement, with more crazy demands that no one can comply with. So Israel is going down. It is impossible to save Israel. It is impossible. This project, which never made sense, which never had a moral foundation for existence ever, that never went through any process of maturing and realizing what it has done and its place in the world and what people think about it, and trying to approach this and remedy this and incorporate this into a wiser, more humane system of existing, by trying to make peace, by trying to make amends, by trying to take care of Palestinian refugees, by seizing any attempt to try to expand. There were so many things Israel could have done over the years to move towards sanity and humanity. But it always chose not to do anything like this. It always chose to do more harm, more damage. I mean, Israel was so protected and cherished by the West that no one had been talking about the Nakba for 50 years, 60 years. They forgave Israel one of the most despicable acts of ethnic cleansing and colonization of the 20th century. What did Israel do? It went and occupied the West Bank and Gaza and East Jerusalem. And then it created another Nakba in those areas, in the Golan Heights, in the West Bank, in East Jerusalem, and it continues to do it to this day. So this phase that we're going through, and I always think and talk in terms of phases, because it is all leading to something. This is not a final result. Not that there's anything final in this life ever, except death. But what we can see now happening is Western societies, cultures, establishments are beginning to realize the Gaza Holocaust has become too transparent, too obvious. They can't deny it anymore. They need to do something with it to try to change the story. So they're doing something really, really stupid, like claiming there's no hunger or Hamas is responsible, but they're also trying to recognize Palestine to change this story. But none of this is going to help, and they are going to do more and more desperate attempts to save Israel from itself and to save them from the humiliation. And this is a major moment of reckoning for Western civilization. People in the West are asking themselves, where are we living? What is this civilization? What do we even stand for? What do we even stand for? How we can send our children to school to learn about human rights and yada yada, when we are mass murdering children and protecting the country that's mass murdering children, and everyone knows this, and everyone sees this. This is an existential crisis of identity, of meaning, of purpose for an entire civilization. This is no minor isolated incident. They have to make something out of it. This is what they're trying to do now, but this is not going to help, because the undercurrents of fanaticism, of religious insanity, of racism, isolationism, exceptionalism, all those things that make people and make a society something you cannot interact with, you cannot come to terms with, you cannot do business with, you cannot do politics or culture or sports with. These impulses are not abating. They are getting worse. And the ability of the Israeli system to maintain an equilibrium, a facade of a functioning state and functioning institutions, and this ability is getting eroded and gets weaker and weaker every day. So every shock that is coming, every BDS win, every recognition of Palestine, every open accusation of genocide is destabilizing the Israeli structure further and further, and it is going to collapse eventually in 2 months, in 14 months, I don't know, but this is how close I see it. This is close. This is not far into the future. This is not decades from now. This is how I see it. Whether I'm right or wrong, we'll know again in a short while. So this is about where we are now in the big story. And I wanted to say something about Sanders, about Bernie Sanders, and why I can't stand him. I can't stand him. I can't stand him. To me, he is much worse than the open deranged Zionists that you have in the US or in Britain. He's far worse. He pretends to understand what you're talking about. He pretends to listen to your grievances and your pain. But at the moment of truth, he will never choose your side. He will always choose Israel's side. This man is a deception operation of one man, basically, a major one because of his status in American society, in American politics, especially among the progressive or slightly radical left. They still regard him very highly. And I've seen him, this was a perfect example of doing what I'm describing here. He was asked by an interviewer, I don't remember the name, if this is genocide. And he answered, genocide is a legal term, but what we're saying is horrible. And if you listen to this answer, you may think, yeah, what does it matter if it's genocide? He understands the pain. He understands the horror. He says that this is terrible and horrible and all these words that they use. So isn't this good enough? And this is the duplicity. This is the duplicity. He's always one step short. He walks with you to the well, but he won't let you drink. He won't let you drink. And he won't drink. He won't jump with you. He won't do anything with you. He just pretends to understand what you're saying. And this deception works in his case, and there are other people like him, but he is the most prominent example of this. And his function is to absorb shocks. His purpose is to collect all the people who are close to getting desperate, to despair of the system, and look for other options and another course of action. And his job is to deceive them into thinking, into believing that he represents, that the system is capable of change and is going to listen to them and do something with what they say and feel to adapt and change. But the system is not going to do this. The system is not going to do this. He is only fooling people into believing that the Democratic Party and Zionism, this is why he always talks about Netanyahu or the Israeli government, not about Israel, or God forbid, the Jewish people or Jewish society, which we need to talk about, we have to talk about, and people will talk about it. Whether YouTube removes videos or leaves videos, or all of that, it doesn't matter. This will be talked about, this will be thought about. But he won't allow you to do this because this is his function, this is his job. His job is to fool people into believing that there is someone with an ear for their pain and their grievance. And he offers a kind of empathy, which is always empty because it is never connected to action. It is never connected to action. It is never connected to a truthful framing and description of reality. This is, yeah, it is terrible. It is terrible. It is terrible. But I'm not going to do anything fundamental to change this. Anything serious. I'm not going to describe Israel as a genocidal state. I'm not going to put Zionism into question. And there's no question. Zionism needs to be terminated. There's no question. There's no open space for maneuver or discussion about Zionism. It is over. The discussion is over. This Holocaust ended each and every discussion and angle that you can have about Zionism. It is over. This discussion only exists in Western elite circles who don't even live in reality. They live in a dream, fantasy world, where they can discuss anything after it doesn't exist a million years. But this is Sanders. This is what he does. This is what he does, and this is why he is so dangerous. Because he lures people in through this fake empathy. And it is fake because it is never connected to action, and it is never connected to a truthful description or framing of reality. This is why he won't say genocide, because genocide is real. If this is genocide, then there need to be consequences. We need to do something, and it needs to be meaningful. It can't be perfunctory. So he won't say it because this is too obliging. This is too much of a commitment. We need to always describe reality in a way that won't force us to take serious action. But we'll do this in such a way that will deceive you into thinking that I am able to see through your eyes. But I'm never going to see through your eyes as this kind of figure. I'm going to only pretend that I do to lock in your power and make sure that you are never a part of real change. And this is why Sanders is so dangerous. And this is why I despise him so much. Having witnessed, and anyone in power, anywhere in the West, having witnessed what we have witnessed over the past couple of years, and still trying to peddle a version of reality which is false, which is fake, which is not 100% serious and real. This is disgusting and despicable. We cannot have this kind of political power in power. Our whole style of government and power has to change. This is one thing the Gaza Holocaust taught us. We cannot have this kind of cynical people, these liars, who will see 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 children get massacred and destroyed, and go and sell and peddle some PR version of what's happening, a denialist, a deceptive, a fake version of reality. We cannot have that. We must not have that. This should be our demand. This should be the change that we demand as a result of the West not only supporting Israel and supporting the genocide, but treating it in terms of the story I began with, like they have been doing. This has been me, and if you want to support my work, you can go to my Substack or the Coffee app. And I suggest you go to my Substack even as free subscribers, because if they remove me from this platform, I'm going to still have your email, and I can email you from another platform and add you to my newsletter on whatever platform I'm in. So I suggest you do that. And that's it for today. I have another big video coming, I hope shortly. So see you soon. Bye for now.